We might need to figure something about that, something with that out. The day of my Foreign Policy Council meeting had arrived, and it was a hot one. The fans in Palace Rizia provided little relief. I decided to take in some fresh air in the palace gardens. Pabal had hired a new groundskeeper who faithfully maintained his father's arrangements. Before he was my butler, my friend had explained to me that the plants and flowers were laid out geographically. Rizian Firks in the east, Zinnian lilies in the south, a Rumburg-style rose garden in the north. To the west was a labyrinthine hedge maze made out of the laurels donated by the Kingdom of Rumburg. I spent a while wandering around, then returned to the middle of the garden, where a series of stone sculptures were surrounded by Rizian palms and succulents. To my left, I saw Vinna, reading a book on a bench beneath a decorative stone arch. In the date palm grove to my right, I caught a glimpse of my mother. I'm going to talk to my daughter. I'm not going to talk to my mom. I made my way to the stone arch and sat down next to my daughter. Oh, hello, father. Okay. You know what? I bet you're wishing you never asked to come to my meetings, right? Oh, what are you talking about? It's been fascinating. All of this council stuff is old hat for you, isn't it? You've even served with some of the same people before. I was naive back then. I mean, it's different now that I'm the one in charge. I can't imagine how it feels to hold all of that power. What do you think of the House of Delegates? Will you go talk to them? Okay. The only reason I would do that is to find out my opposition's weaknesses. I'll take their opinions into consideration, but I am the one with the final say. Any good monarch listens to the will of the public. Queen Lizzie always said that. A good monarch listens. A great monarch acts. Lizzie acted too. Did she though? Did she? A clock chimed in the distance. It was time for the meeting. You don't lead the way, your highness. As Vin and I walked down into the council chambers, we found another counselor is already there, deep in conversation. A superpower suddenly takes interest in a part of the continent? What's next? All of our children will have to learn Arcasian? The decision wasn't made with any ill intent towards Rizia. There are greater global forces at work than what's happening on our corner of South Merkopa. What the superpower society affects us, Mr. Scribel. Their intent is of no importance. Do you care to catch me up? The three of them noticed me and fell silent. Excuse us, your majesty. We were just discussing the recent news of learning Lesbia's membership in the ATO. We don't know we don't know anything about the situation yet. We'll have to wait and see what happens. A reasonable response, your majesty. Respectively, your grace, there's nothing reasonable about allowing Arcasia and its puppets to spread instability across the globe. And what will you have us do, Just Cesaro? We're on shaky enough grounds with Lesbia as it is. Of course, we should act sensibly. But we need to show the Republic and its friends that Rizia can hold its own. Okay. I mean, what are our current relations with Lesbia? I would categorize them as neutral, but frosty, your majesty. Queen Lizia's diplomacy kept us in good terms with Lesbia for a time after her transition to democracy. But things were beginning to sour even before the palace conflict. We still maintain embassies in each other's countries, but I haven't met with their foreign ministry since before the election of their new prime minister, Alvarez. Okay, Mr. Werner, will this new alliance have economic consequences? I'm sure it will, your majesty. Our most significant economic relationship with Lesbia is our partnership in the Meftium International Trade Zone. Having Arcasia behind them might even embolden them to push for a larger share of the MITZ. But they'd have to also have Vaxland and Morella to contend with. Lesbia using Arcasian's backing to strengthen its economic ties with Palace could also have negative ramifications, especially when it comes to the new gas field. Hugo, does the development pose a threat to the Rizian monarchy? Not immediately, one, your majesty, but we must be watchful. We saw Arcasian-backed revolution succeed in Rizia and Enrica and Xenia, and we do suspect that the Sazons were communicating with Arcasia prior to the 1926 uprising. Kinal's ATO membership was already cause for concern 5 years ago. With Lesbia in the alliance as well, Arcasia influence is present in both our north and our south. There's a great potential for destabilization. On the other hand, your grace, Arcasia has friendly ties with at least one monarchy, but you may recall that President Dwight Walker actually boasts Rumburgian heritage. What about our security implications of the alliance, Duchess Cesaro? We can definitely expect our KC military to increase their presence in Lesbia. Lesbia's already houses our KC military personnel. Air and naval bases cannot be far behind. I can't say for certain that all that firepower will be directed against us in a case of conflict, but it does enhance the threat that Lesbia, and yes, potentially Palace, pose to our kingdom. Alright. What do you all think I should do? Everybody can't talk at once. Hugo motion for silence. In my view, Rizia should bolster alliance with the fellow monarchies like Rumburg and the rest of the Guild of Royal Allies for commercial exchange. Building stronger bonds with them will not only enrich us, but will counterbalance ATO's democratic influence. This is true, but we can't rely on grace to come to our aid in a conflict. For that, we'll need to build our military and defense capabilities. I'd say it's more crucial to form a new trade relationship with our neighbors. If Lesbia becomes even more of an economic juggernaut in our region, it'll upset the balance of power. And I don't think we should ignore the opportunity to thaw our relation with Lesbia itself. I, for one, would rather handle them as a friend than a foe. Okay. I would like to get a full picture of Rizia's geopolitical situation before offering my own opinion. Certainly, to Your Majesty, that is what today is for. Lorento walked over to the chamber's back wall and pulled down a map of southern East Merkopa. What shall we discuss first? It's about Valant. Of course. Lorento rearranged some of the papers that he was holding. Relations with our one-time ally have been turbulent at best since the Civil War. The international unpopularity of its current president, Viktor Smolensk, is only complicated matters. Okay. All I ask is that Valant returns Zeal as promised. After that, I'm happy to cut ties. The return is scheduled for the end of 1952, Your Majesty. Valant's access to Zeal's land and resources helped bring out the recession after the war. Smolensk will have difficulties letting go of such a valuable asset. Can we act? Can we count on him to honor the deals in terms of the treaty? Smolensk is not as weak as he seems. It will take a great deal of time and effort before our firepower matches his. He may act bold. Currently, the Foreign Ministry is working in close cooperation with us, and President Smolensk has promised to honor the treaty. In the meantime, any perceived aggression on our part may only give him an excuse to break it. Okay. What about the people of Zeal? Surely they can't wait to get for the land to be returned to Rizia. Half the country's native Rizian population fled during the Civil War, like the Queen Mother's presidents, I recall. Among those that were stubborn enough to stay, opinion is divided. We have to remember that it's been almost 25 years. Okay. Okay. I don't think the international community, I don't trust them for a second to help us out against Valant. I'll act diplomatically with President Smolensk. We can sweeten a deal if necessary. Appease him until we get Zeal back. Smolensk's current focus is on eradicating terrorism of the Bloods, a Golconist ethnic group native to Valant and Sorland. He's been very vocal about his desire for cooperation on that front. Not all the Bloods are terrorists, Your Grace. Mr. Smolensk is particularly interested in a separatist group known as the Bloodish Freedom Front, who have been rumored of receiving support from none other than Rumburg. I would advise against getting involved with the BFF, but Valant's isolation within Merkopa could be a strategic advantage on our end. For all of his posturing, I believe Viktor Smolensk truly wants Rizia as an ally. There's an international opinion metric that's not really explained, but it can be important in certain occasions. Can we count on the international community to be relied on to intervene if Smolensk breaks the signed pact? Given how many countries depend on Vazanek oil, either directly or indirectly, I wouldn't be so sure about that. Can't we just do like a 2003 on them? Like, why? What's the problem? The funding Valant has received from United Katana may also have Smolensk believing that he can act with impunity. Okay. Why does it sound like Clear Obscura music? Am I crazy? Moving on. When is my next diplomatic visit to Valant? As a matter of fact, you're slated for a trip to Zeal at the end of the year, for the second to last Vezhnik Rizian Friendship Day. Okay, I mean, what's that? Friendship Day is a celebration that has been held in Zeal each year since the treaty was signed. Since Smolensk took over, he's used to the occasion to trot out all the new shiny tanks Valant's oil money and United Catan funding has brought him. Your presence will, at the very least, remind him of the occupation's temporary nature. Okay. I'll make you remember by any means necessary. I would remind you of the necessary to remain civil. We can't give Mr. Smolak a reason to break the contract. For now, I propose we move on with our meeting. Okay, what about Palace? I was just about to bring up the Grand Duchy. Your father's unfortunate passing has given us a chance for a fresh start with Duke Reinhardt. I've heard he reached out to you some years ago. Perhaps that connection can be built upon. I don't know if he can be trusted. Give him a chance. I myself advise your father to speak with the new Duke of Palace. No, to no avail, of course. Compared to his brother, Nojlama, Axel Reinhardt seems to be far more amenable to a thaw between our countries. He wasn't even born when Rizia and Palace were fighting, and I suspect he's beginning to see the disadvantages of staying connected to Lesbia. Okay. Voxland. Does Voxland care about Palace at all? Palace does a Rizian-speaking population, right? How influential are they? They're a minority, but a vocal one. They believe in the preservation of the Rizian language, but they can still consider themselves Palasian at heart. Duke Nojlama's proposed Rizian ban was a bridge too far for them. They seemed to heavily favor his brother. Okay. What about our current relationship? The Grand Duchy has been heavily dependent on the Republic of Lesbia since the 1920s, Your Majesty. Our northern neighbor has taken extensive advantage of the natural gas reserves off the southern Palasian coast. Is Lesbia north of us? I guess they're like right here. No, I guess they are right here. I don't know my geography. Lesbia's also relocated a number of its major corporations to Palace in exchange for extremely generous tax breaks. In addition to the resulting income, Palace has access to Lesbian technology and military equipment, which at the moment surpasses our own. Smolak is a good friend if you going absolutist. Unlike other communist nations, he's only paying lip service. Smolak is never your good friend in this DLC. We'll figure out when we get there. Where's Vaxland in all of this? Does Palace have any relationship with the Republic? Not a friendly one. Most Vaglas Palasians were and still are vehemently against their ancestral homeland's turn to socialism. In turn, the Republic of Vaxland has nothing to do with its former colony since the Reinhardt's decision to seek protection from Lesbia. Back in the 1920s, there were a few attempts at marshaling support for Vaxlandian socialist revolution in the Grand Duchy, but none bore fruit. Okay. Are we leaning towards any particular diplomatic strategy towards Palace? Start a new revolution there now? We should play to the sympathies of the Rizian-speaking segment of the population. Sway them over to our side. That could prove useful, Your Majesty, especially in the face of Lesbia's ATO membership. Shall I continue? You know, I haven't heard much about the countries of the former Empire of Moridia. Would you like to discuss Morella or Durdia? Let's go Morella. You've already heard of their new left-wing ruling coalition, correct? Please enlighten me. After years of infighting, the country's left-leaning parties miraculously united in time to win this year's election. Okay, so now we know the game for sure is fiction. The politician who managed to do his feat is now Morella's new prime minister, Alma Sultana, or as she might prefer it, Comrade Alma Sultana. Hugo grimaced. Lesbians and ATO are enough of a threat without the Malivist knocking at our back door. Okay. Both Arcasian liberals and Malivists hate everything that we stand for. Neither ideology respects the sovereignty of a monarch. I see them as two sides of the same coin. In this case, it's Vaxlandian socialism we ought to be worried about, not Malinovism. What's the Hugo, Lorenzo, we don't make any distinctions here, okay? It's all the same shit. Morella doesn't stand a chance of entering the Caltanian Security Pact, not with its current levels of poverty. But there are rumors that Prime Minister Sultana has been arranging meetings with Vaxlandian Chancellor Imre Hegel. Okay, well, what's our relationship with Vaxland at the moment? Neutral at best, Your Majesty. As we all know, House Toras has historical ties to the late Valgos Empire, but Chancellor Hegel isn't extremely brimming with nostalgia for that era. So far, our trade relationship with Morella has not been affected, nor has our partnership with the International Trade Zone. But Morella and Vaxland teaming up in the area could potentially be more of a concern than Lesbia. As for Morella's neighbor, Durdia, our relations with them have become strained since the country's conversion to a theocracy. but we still maintain a number of cooperative agreements, including our acceptance of Duridian migrants as labor hands. I must say that Supreme Viceman Jorga Azmal did not approve our ban on Golconda's pilgrims to Rizian holy sites. His Majesty and I discussed that ban prior to our ceremony in Plavo. I harbor reservations about it myself, but I trust the Grand Wiseman's decision. As do I. I wonder, though, why does he not put similar restrictions on Das Nurist? They may have strayed, gentlemen, but both Golcondas and Das Nurist are both our brethren. I merely worry about the growing number of Golcondas visitors at sites like Plavo, and their rather physical interpretation of our religion. We're alienating the true Viernist believers. I'll point out that our stance on Duridian Golcondas is far gentler than Morella's. Yes, Morella hasn't allowed Duridians of any kind in the country since the Meftim invasion of 1915. The Duridians most certainly have tried. Okay. Then how are Duridian migrants reaching Rizia? Mostly by boat, across the Gulf of Meridia, though some are trafficked across the border, and others fight their way in. Say what you will about Duridians' beliefs, you can't argue with their weaponry. It's part of their warrior culture, Duchess. Their practice is centered on martial discipline and physical strength. Can they be bargained with? Everyone can be bargained with, Your Majesty. Like Vitor Smolak, Mr. Azmel may be looking for a way to end his country's geopolitical isolation. I should mention that the Duridians' isolation is partially self-imposed. They are suspicious of nations that do not share their particular values. Among other things, these include a hardline stance on drugs and alcohol. Okay. It's interesting to know, but I won't be adopting Rizia's policies to suit Duridia's wishes. Very good, Your Majesty. We should not let Golcondas tell us how to run our country. What's going on in Sorland? They're a useless backwater. We don't need to worry about them at all. Now that the Colonel has decided to retire, you mean? His successor is called Edward Alfonso. From everything I've heard, he's Sol's exact opposite. That's too bad. I actually like Sol. Your feeling wasn't mutual. Sol is the same for the monarchy kept us shut out trade negotiations with Sorland for decades. With Alfonso's administration, meanwhile, has no such qualms of royalty. In fact, his new development minister, Gus Mancher, has already had personal business dealings in Rizia. Our friend, Mr. Montoro of Rizian Rule Gold, has been making overtures to Swordish oligarchies. Birds of crassly ostentatious plumage flock together. Okay. What does Sorland want from us? That hasn't been disclosed yet. The country already has abundant gas resources. They could be looking to shore up their central bank with gold in the wake of Alfonso's privatization spree. I'll contact you once Alfonso's agreed to a date for his visit. That's everything, isn't it, Mr. Escobel? Lorento turned away from the map towards me. There's one more country we have not discussed. Rumburg. Please continue. For the moment, Queen Beatrice and her country are firmly allied with Rizia. Miss Werner already mentioned that allows their amounts of gold that we export to the country through their strategic port Grim. We also have a dealing allowing Rumburg ships priority access to our ports in Port Drizon and Monquise. We are, in essence, their gateway to the Artanian Sea. Militarily speaking, the alliance doesn't amount to much. Rumburg will supply us with arms in case of war, but neither of our countries is officially obligated to come to each other's aid. Okay. Is the Queen plotting against Sorland? The countries haven't been in overt conflict since the 15 Days War. But to answer your question, Majesty, I wouldn't be surprised. We're already fairly sure Rumburg is armed bullish separatist surveillance. The same might be happening across the border in Bergia. Okay. That's smart. Queen Beatrice will get further with these kind of destabilization efforts than with outright hostility. I wouldn't rule out the possibility of escalation. Both countries are rich in one thing Rumburg still needs. Energy. Yes. Her Excellency has made Rumburg's oil and natural gas needs plainly known. If we end up in a stake in that new field, I fully expect her to come calling. I mean, it could strengthen our partnership. What do they even need all of this energy for? They've been manufacturing a lot more than KA-74s lately. I've heard stories about experimental weapons that would put Acacius to shame. I will remind the Council that our prior conversation regarding the ATO. and that necessity of strengthening our bond with other monarchies, especially Rumburg. Fortunately, we have living evidence that bond right here at this table. All eyes turned to Vinna. She looked up from the notes she'd been taking. Yeah, don't worry, Aunt B. There's still dotes on me. I'm like a daughter she's never had. Good. See to it that you remain in Her Excellency's good graces. Okay. You know what? You heard him. Maybe it's a good time we arrange a visit with dear Aunt B. Anything for the kingdom. Hugo glanced at the clock. Before we conclude, there's still the matter of His Majesty's stance on Lesbia's ATO membership. Do you have any further thoughts on that? Okay. I didn't like how they retconned Rizia into the Swordland campaign, but made Swordland important to Rizia's actual works. I didn't like how they retconned Rizia into the Swordland campaign, but making Swordland important to Rizia's actually works. Okay, I see what you mean. It behoove us to get close to Lesbian AT instead of making enemies of them. I agree with Lucetta. I mean, we're going militarist, so I mean, Lucetta. But I also like getting more, like getting our economy up. We gotta get our money flowing in. I like Alina's suggestion. Sealing new economic pacts with other Merkopian countries will help us improve, becoming regional power in our own right. Correct, Your Majesty. I think that Swordland deal has particularly high potential. I'm intrigued, Miss Werner. Though I still believe in our most important economic relationship is with Rumburg. I did have one more proposition before we adjourn. One fairly risk-free way to increase our geopolitical footprint without losing any country's favor is to expand Rizia's soft power. We also have spoken of the need to stoke pro-Rizian sympathies in both Ziela and Palace. I would therefore suggest we funding branches of the Iranian Tourist Association in both of these regions. Okay. What does the ATA do? It's a government-funded organization that promotes Rizian culture abroad. It's currently active in Rumburg and a few other race members. Its satellite organizations organize Rizian language classes, concerts, art expeditions, traditional festivities. How many people, like, realistically are going to these, are trying to learn the Rizian language, you know? Like, say what you will, that's like if I went to go, like, take Albanian classes. Like, it's neat, but, like, why would I do it? I myself volunteered with the AT as an ambassador for a time. I can vouch for its integrity. Do you think, why would, okay, obviously we know why it would be helpful. I can see the use for it, but do we have the budget for it? We do, but expanding ATA in both Ziela and Palace will be costly indeed. I like the idea, but it would even give us an edge in upcoming trade deals. But I would advise you to choose between these two regions. -2, -2, -5. We have $6 right now. I think we want to go more in Palace. I agree with you. We should begin ATA activities in Palace only. Consider it done, Your Majesty. Thank you for your wise counsel, Lorento. Thanks for listening, everybody. I do hope I haven't been too much of a bore. Not at all, Mr. Esquel. I've always enjoyed sharing in your expertise. Okay, he's going to roll back at the map. We're walking out of the chambers. And I will be just back real lickety-split. These buttons still don't work. I don't know what I've done to the buttons. You know, I'll just leave the screen on. It's not that big of a... Be right back. My chat's back up.